Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Wrestling Discussions. On today's episode, we got another banger, as always. Tonight, we're going to be discussing last night's AEW results, as well as tonight's predictions and match card for Impact Wrestling. Now, I want to start with last night's AEW. Jon Moxley versus Hangman Adam Page. Now, my original prediction for this in yesterday's episode was that they were going to draw. They were going to have a draw. That's not what happened. I didn't realize that Jon Moxley's hometown was 60 minutes away, and so that is definitely a factor in my opinion. Jon Moxley did get the win. Personally, I'm going to be completely honest, I didn't like the ending. Now, listen, I get it. They're probably going to keep this rivalry going. They're probably going to continue Jon Moxley and Hangman Adam Page, and I get that. I understand that. My issue with that is they've already done 3 matches, and usually by the 3rd match, that's usually what's said and done. And if they don't continue the rivalry, I think it's going to piss off some fans, because the way they ended last night's match, I just feel like it could have been better. It was via a roll-up. It was Moxley kind of got Hangman by surprise. It wasn't really through, any, major move. It wasn't through the Death Rider. It wasn't through the Buckshot Lariat. It wasn't through any of that. I will say, though, this match was very impressive from both ends. I was very impressed by the fact that Jon Moxley kicked out of the Buckshot Lariat. Honest to God, I'm not used to ever seeing that happen. I'm not saying it's never happened, but I'm saying for me, I don't think I've ever seen someone kick out of the Buckshot Lariat. I mean, hell, I haven't even seen Kenny Omega kick out of it, let alone, anyone else on AEW. And Moxley really is a fighter, and I really do believe Moxley is the heart and soul of AEW at this point, at this day and age. And so I think it's really cool that Moxley kicked out of it. However, that being said, I still didn't like the ending. It's one of those things where I feel like they can continue the rivalry, because if they don't, that's going to make things worse. But even if they do, it's also going to kind of get old and a little boring. So they're going to have to amp it up somehow, whether they make it a last man standing match, or a lights out match, or a no holds barred, or no disqualification, or anything and everything violent that AEW can think of. I think they need to incorporate into this rivalry, because I think they really need to take this rivalry between Hangman and Moxley, and they need to bring it into a bigger light. They need to bring it into a bigger stage, if you will. I almost want to say, do it with blood and guts, like do something involving blood and guts, because I feel like blood and guts is coming up, or am I wrong? When does blood and guts usually happen? Does blood and guts usually happen in like June or July, I think, right? Somewhere around there, I want to say. Um, if that's the case, I'm going to straight up say it. We need to see, well, maybe not, but if it's anytime soon, which I'm not sure if it is, it would be really cool to see Moxley and Hangman have some sort of feud going into that. Like, because I think that would severely put over the Dark Order, and I think that would severely put over Hangman, and I think obviously the Blackpool Combat Club, they would they would strive in a match like that. So obviously that would benefit them as well, especially their up and comings such as Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. And I say Claudio Castagnoli because look at the way he's been utilized in AEW as of late. He's not being utilized properly. He's not being utilized to his full potential. And unfortunately, at this point, I consider him someone who he needs more build up. He needs almost like a refresh in AEW. And hopefully, if he stays in Blackpool Combat Club, hopefully eventually they can do something right with that, and they can build him up the right way, the proper way. Now, yes, going back to what I was saying, Jon Moxley did beat Hangman Adam Page. Congratulations to Mox. The ending of the match was really intense. Both wrestlers were giving each other the middle fingers, and it made me question, is this real? Is this fake? Is this scripted? Like, what is it? Because Jon Moxley is in my personal opinion, one of the most real professional wrestlers. On top of that, Hangman Adam Page, I think, can tend to sometimes be one of the most real professional wrestlers. And I say that because the way that the way he sometimes talks in his promos, the way he sometimes says certain things, it comes from the heart. It comes from his inner deep emotions. And sometimes I think that's a bad thing for Hangman, but other times I think it's good in the sense that it's very entertaining for the crowd. But I'm not too sure how that will benefit his career. Now, moving on, I don't want to stay on this match for too long. We saw the Acclaimed in tag team action, and obviously I was correct in saying that they won. The competitors weren't even named. They were unnamed competitors. Who wants to, that was, no one cares about that. I certainly don't. But yeah, my prediction was right there. My prediction was also right in saying Konosuke Takeshita defeated Brian Cage. Now, I must say, this is really good for Konosuke Takeshita. He's getting more TV time, and he finally got a win on TV, which is great. Now, he is going into a match next week against MJF in an AEW World Championship Eliminator match, so if he wins, he will get to fight MJF for the title. Now, obviously, I'm almost certain MJF will win. But again, this is great for Konosuke Takeshita's career right now, and it's even more beneficial because it's putting him under the radar of that of the Blackpool Combat Club. And if Konosuke Takeshita were to join the Blackpool Combat Club, I think we could see quite a bit with him. I think we could see him take on quite a few different people, and I say that because when Wheeler Yuta joined the Blackpool Combat Club, he was taken via Jon Moxley, right? Like, Moxley kind of took him in through their matches, and Regal kind of took in Wheeler Yuta a little more closely as well. Bryan Danielson seems to really have a liking to this Konosuke Takeshita, and so maybe we'll see Bryan Danielson take Konosuke Takeshita under his wing later down the line. All that being said, though, I think Konosuke Takeshita joining Blackpool Combat Club and just getting the TV time that he's getting right now is very good for his career. I think he's getting a really good build-up right now, and I'm certainly hoping that that continues for him later down the line. Now, we also saw Bryan Danielson versus Timothy Thatcher. Now, Danielson did get the win. My prediction was correct. However, it's still so great to see Timothy Thatcher in action again. I haven't seen nor have I heard of Timothy Thatcher in quite a little while since he left WWE, and I'm very glad to hear his name still in professional wrestling. I think he's an incredible athlete, and like I said in last night's episode, I think him and Danielson match up very well in their style of technical wrestling, and so I think those two will put on a 5-star match anytime they wrestle. And now again, obviously Bryan Danielson gets the win, but nothing can really be taken away from Timothy Thatcher due to the simple fact that this puts more eyes on his name, more eyes on his career, which is great because then wherever he goes, that'll put more eyes on the companies that he goes to. And so I think it's a big benefit for all of professional wrestling. Now, we also saw Red Velvet versus Jade Cargill for the TBS Championship, and I was correct. Jade Cargill did defeat Red Velvet. I'm going to be honest, this needs to stop. We need to stop seeing Jade Cargill fighting people in the sense that Jade needs to fight bigger names, and she needs to fight more more random names. Like, she's fought Red Velvet how many times? She's fought Kiera Hogan how many times? She's fought Anna Jay how many times at this point? She needs to switch it up. She needs to fight Chris Statlander. She needs to fight Britt Baker. She needs to fight maybe even Ruby Soho or Nyla Rose. I mean, she already fought Nyla Rose, but same thing. She needs to fight women that are more on par with her, that are more on her level. Nyla Rose was probably the closest she'll get. In my opinion, the person that should take the TBS Women's Championship off of Jade Cargill is Chris Statlander. Chris Statlander is the best possible option, in my opinion. So, when Chris comes back again, I really hope she's the one to take the title off Jade. Now, in our last match that we're going to be discussing for tonight for AEW, we saw a no-holds-barred match between Darby Allin and Samoa Joe for the TNT title, and can I just say how awesome this match was? There were so many spots in this match that were so intense, so brutal, and it really goes to show just how impressive and extreme of a wrestler that Darby Allin is. Every time this guy wrestles in anything that involves extremities, he pulls out all the stops. The coffin matches, no holds barred, street fights, etc., etc., etc. This guy pulls off some of the best matches possible, especially when there's a extreme stipulation added to it. Now, my prediction was correct. Samoa Joe did win. Samoa Joe did win back the TNT title. He's a two-time TNT champion. He is once again the biggest TV champ with the Ring of Honor TV championship as well as the TNT title. Now, we also saw the return of Wardlow. Sporting the new haircut and all. I'm really tired of these constant name returns. In the sense that, not returns I should say, but these constant, same names. In the sense that Darby Allin won the TNT title against Samoa Joe. And he went on for maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks. And he defended the title against guys like Buddy Matthews, Kushida, sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Buddy Matthews, Kushida, point is, he defended against quite a lot. Quite a variety of different wrestlers, right? Samoa Joe suddenly comes back and says, I'm getting a match for the TNT title, and he wins. And now Wardlow's back, and he's going to want a match for the TNT title. And it's that constant idea of, when is it going to end? When are we going to get a different name? And so, personally, I'm hoping Wardlow is not the guy to take the title off of Joe. I'm hoping it's maybe Powerhouse Hobbs. I'm hoping that maybe it's, really anyone that, genuinely deserves it. I mean, I would love to see them do... Honestly, I would love to see Action Andretti maybe not win the title, but get a match against Joe for the title, because I think it would be entertaining. I think it would help Action Andretti get over a little more. I'd love to see wrestlers like Adam Cole get an opportunity for the TNT Championship. Adam Cole hasn't even had a match yet since he's been back, and I think he deserves that match. I think he deserves that opportunity. I'd like to see wrestlers like Swerve Strickland or Keith Lee get into a TNT title opportunity. I think those two really deserve it. All that being said, the match was great. I rate the match very high. However, I think I'm getting a little tired of the consistency that we're seeing. Because we saw it when Sammy was champion. It was Sammy Guevara, then Cody Rhodes, then Sammy Guevara, then Scorpio Sky, then Sammy Guevara, then Scorpio Sky, and it was that constant back and forth. And we're kind of done with that era, but now we're going back into the era of... Now we're going into this new era of Darby Allin, Wardlow, and Samoa Joe. And these three have been going back and forth, passing this belt around in a circle here lately. And I need some clarification. I need some change. I think everyone would benefit from that. I think all the fans would appreciate a change in champion and in contenders. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's my personal opinion. Now, again, we saw some very extreme spots throughout the match. We saw tables used, thumbtacks used. We saw the damn ring get torn open, which was incredible. Which, you don't see it often, especially on AEW. We've barely been seeing that on AEW. And so I think, all in all, I think that's great. I think it's I think it's as entertaining as you can get at times, and I loved it. And so, major congratulations to both men in the match. Major congratulations to Samoa Joe for winning the TNT title back. Personally, I don't think he should have lost it. However, I am very pleased with the run that Darby has had with the title. So with the title as long as he had it, and so congratulations to both competitors. They both did an incredible job, incredible match, if you will. And I can't wait to see what Samoa Joe is going to do with the TNT title. I can't wait to see in general what's going to happen with the TNT title in later years to come. Now, moving on to Impact Wrestling tonight, we're going to see a major four-way tag between the Design and Callihan versus Josh Alexander, Frankie Kazarian, Yuya Uemura, and Rich Swann. Now, I'm going to start with the Design and Callihan. Notice how it's still called the Design and Callihan and not the Design. Notice how the Design is not including Callihan into their group quite yet. He still has to complete the initiations. He still has to prove himself. Personally, if Sami Callihan were to come up to me and say, I want to join your group, I would let him in a minute, because Sami Callihan is one of the best professional wrestlers in the world, and I don't think he has anything to prove to the Design. That being said, I still don't fully know if this is all a joke to Sami, if this is all something that he's going to turn around and, betray the Design or what. However, the Design in Callihan, it's interesting, because they also have a great opportunity here, because they are more of a unit than the other team is, than Alexander and Swann and Uemura and Kazarian. I mean, those four are all random names. And Josh Alexander and Rich Swann, they're fighting this month. They're fighting in February, in a few weeks, for the Impact World Championship. And so that's another thing that they've got to look at and be like, well, wait a minute. How do I know I can trust you? How do I know we're going to be on the same team here? You know what I mean? And it's the same with Frankie Kazarian, in the sense that this is a guy that went to war with Josh Alexander. This is a guy that wants the Impact World Championship just as much as everyone else. And so this is something that everyone's got to look at and go, well, hold up. Can we really work as a unit? Now, this is really tough for me to make a prediction, because the Design and Callihan are still new, in the sense that they're still kind of up and coming into this new storyline. And Callihan, after his loss last week, I gotta go with Rich Swann and Josh Alexander and Frankie Kazarian and Yuya Uemura, just due to the simple fact that those four, I think, have a bigger things ahead of them, and this match, if they win, will push them into a better trajectory, whereas if they lose, it'll kind of deflate some things, it'll kind of ruin some things, unless they lose in a way where it adds to the match between Rich Swann and Josh Alexander in a few weeks. But yeah, my prediction for that is going to be Josh Alexander, Frankie Kazarian, Yuya Uemura, and Rich Swann. Now moving on, we're also going to see Bullet Club take on Kevin Knight and Kushida. Now I'm going to be honest. Bullet Club, my prediction is obviously going to be Bullet Club. Kushida, yeah, great wrestler. I don't know much about Kevin Knight. However, the Bullet Club has been unstoppable right now. They did great against Motor City Machine Guns, Major Players, and Heath and Rhino over at Bound for Glory. I'm sorry, not Bound for Glory. Over at Hard to Kill a few weeks back. And they had a major impressive win against the Major Players last week. Going into this tonight, they are on fire. They have such heat coming off of them right now with such an incredible win. And I honestly think that they are the next guys to take on Motor City Machine Guns. I honestly think they're the next guys to beat the Motor City Machine Guns. And so I've got to go with Ace Austin. I've got to go with Chris Bay. These two are just in such a great trajectory right now. They're absolutely being adored and loved by the fans. This is their moment. This is the most opportune time for these guys to finally start coming up a little bit more in Impact Wrestling, and I think they're going to severely benefit from that. Now, we're also going to see Giselle Shaw take on Savannah Evans. Now, I don't know these wrestlers too well. However, as far as I'm aware, Giselle Shaw was in a match last week between Mickie James and Frankie Kazarian, and Bully Ray. I'm going to go with Giselle Shaw. I think she seems to have a better... I can't really say for sure, but from what I've seen, I think she's in a better position right now in her career to get the win rather than that of Savannah Evans, but I could be wrong. And finally, we're also going to see Sheldon Jean take on Crazy Steve. I'm obviously going to go with Crazy Steve on this one. Crazy Steve seems to be vying for an X Division title match against Trey Miguel at some point. I think Crazy Steve has all the potential going into this match. All the, all the... He has everything going in this match. I think he has everything to gain and almost nothing to lose. And Crazy Steve is Crazy Steve. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to go in there and he's going to mess some shit up. And he's going to put on moment after moment and match after match. And I honestly think Crazy Steve deserves better. I think he does deserve the X Division title. And so I'm hoping that he wins this match. I'm hoping he goes into a match with Trey Miguel and beats Trey Miguel. And so, hands down, I've got to go with Crazy Steve on this one. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to close it out for today's episode. As always, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.